Hi there, and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. If you saw my last process video, which was called Hey Santa, you saw me pick out this little cute, adorable kitten inside of a stocking that came in the Hip Kit Club die cuts for the month of November. I also have a video on my channel where I show this wire word making kit, and I showed in quite a bit of detail in the other video, but I thought I would just show the kit right here so that you can get a sense of what it looks like in case you haven't seen that other video. It has a couple words that are included, but I created my own word kitty. I also created this ho ho ho, which I adore and can't wait to use on another layout, so that'll be coming up on my channel sometime in the next couple of weeks. But for today, I'm going to use the word kitty. This was my second go at the word kitty, so the very first time I used this kit without ever having any experience or even reading the instructions, this is what I came up with. This one is a little bit not quite as nice. I learned in the second go around how to use the tool that comes with the kit to push in the letters and make the straight edges more straight and not so rounded. So I really like how this one turned out relative to the others. So I'm just going to include a little bit of footage here of just so that you get a sense of how I made that word kitty. So you start by spelling out the word on a piece of grid paper that comes in the kit, and you just put the little dots where it tells you to put it. It gives you a little template of all of the letters in the alphabet, and then you just place all of the little pegs on the spaces on the template here, I guess it's called a jig, and just keep on putting them in and following the letters. Once you have put all of the pegs in the jig, then you just take the wire, and the kit does come with some wire, but you can buy this wire at the jewelry making section at Michael's or in your craft store. And then you just basically wrap the wire around the pegs in the way that the lines show you on the little sample alphabet, and also following the lines that you would have drawn on the jig, like on the template that is that lies beneath the jig. And then you'll notice that I also, there weren't enough pegs, so I had to pull out some pegs that I had already used to make the letter K, and shift them in order to make the cross for the T. So that's what I'm doing right here. And then I'm just going to stretch the wire around the cross in the word T and bring it down. And I kind of customize that myself because I didn't want to make two separate T's, so I just modified it to make it look like that. And I'm also using bigger circles for the top of my K and the bottom of my Y, just because I wanted to have it look really loopy and fancy. So now here's what I meant by using the tool to straighten out my edges. See how the edges of the Y were pretty curvy, and then I just used the tool to tighten them up and kind of straighten them out. And there's my word kitty, and I'm really, really pleased with how it turned out. So I'm just going to grab the Hip Kit for the month of November now, and just move my photo and that word out of the way. And I'm going to start by familiarizing myself with the kit. It's been about a week since I've used this kit, a little bit less than a week, I guess. So I just want to think about if there are any things I definitely want to use. And I thought that these letters would look nice paired with the word kitty. So I think I'm going to call this Christmas Kitty. And I'm just playing around with some different ways to lay this out. I don't have a sketch or a layout in mind. I rarely do. And if I ever do, I will show it in my process video at the very beginning. I'll show you the sketch that I'm working with or the design that I'm starting with. So at this point, I think I'm going to use the wood grain. I feel like I like the wood grain on this photo because it picks up on the wood and the floor of the photo, and I really love this paper. It's from crepe paper, and I just really, really love it. And I also like this little strip at the bottom. So I cut the strip at the bottom into two pieces, and then I also have this plaid green paper. That paper is also from crepe paper from the Fa La La collection, and I just cut the strip of plaid off a little bit, so it's not, so that it's on a bit of a diagonal, and I'm putting it at the top and at the bottom of my wood grain paper to be kind of like a header and a footer. And then I'm going to layer some of this red manufacturer's strip from the Fa La La paper, that's from the background paper, and layer it at the top and the bottom. And I'm really liking the warmth of this page, but I really wanted to kind of pick up on some whites, and you'll see once I add some whites into this, it's really going to throw off the balance in terms of I'm going to be mixing some warms and some cools in a way that just isn't going to work. But I'll let you see how that plays out. So here's this more of the Fa La La paper from Crepe Paper. I really love that paper with the Fa La La all over it, but I don't think I'm going to get to use it, but I end up being wrong. So now I'm using this, this paper is from Sweater Weather, and the reason I'm using this is I feel like it picks up on the bluish, it's not quite blue, but there are bluish tinges in the plaid that's at the top and the bottom of the page, and there's also going to be plenty of blue in this piece of paper, which I was originally thinking I would take a chunk of it. But then I decided that I would really rather it be my background. So I'm going to actually leave that background that I already made with the wood grain and the plaid at the top and the bottom and the red at the top and the bottom. I'm just going to put that aside and use it on another page later. And right now I'm going to, as you see, basically reconstruct this page, but with a bit different background paper. And I am putting the green plaid, basically I cut a little bit too big of a chunk of the green plaid, so I purposely put it so that it hung off the edge of the page so that I could trim it down a little bit so that it would look a little bit more proportional. I don't want to cover up too much of that beautiful background paper. Now that white background paper with the stars all over it is from Pink Fresh Studio. And this pink and white paper is also from Pink Fresh Studio. Now, this is one of my newer Stampin' Up! Punches. It is called Ticket Tear, and I really love the subtle torn ticket edge that this punch gives. It's a really nice alternative to when you feel like using a border punch but don't want to use a scallop border punch. It just gives you a much more soft and detailed, not necessarily soft, but just a more detailed and less obvious border punch. So I really like it. So I cut 2 strips of that, and I don't know if I like how that's working. I'm playing around with the idea of layering it over the green paper, playing around with the idea of layering it under the green paper. And I'm not really liking either of those, so I'm just going to hold off on deciding what to do about that, but I do like the punched edge of the paper. So in the meantime, I'm going to take these letter stickers from the Hip Kit Club and spell out the word Christmas. I had already decided, as you recall, at the very beginning of this video that I would use these letters to spell out Christmas, and that my title will end up being Christmas Kitty. So I'm using the filled in letters, so the R and the A that are filled in instead of the ones that have the opening in them. I love those. And that's definitely my preference for that. And now I'm thinking what I might do is run a horizontal strip of this paper right around the center, but not quite filling the strip of like not quite going from edge to edge of the layout is what I'm trying to say, but rather have a horizontal strip that runs across the center of the page, but not from edge to edge. So again, I'm going back to that idea of the top and the bottom and trying to decide what to do with the header. And then I noticed that the background, the flip side of that paper, which is from the Crepe Paper Fa La La collection, all of these things are from the Hip Kit Club from November, that paper looks really nice on the other side too. So I think I might actually use the red background instead of the one that's got more of a pink look. So the back side of that is the pink paper that I've been, and that I originally planned to use. So I'm cutting 2 more strips off of that paper so that I can run a little strip of red at the top and at the bottom. And I think that's going to help me with my problem on the top and the bottom, because basically I felt like the green was way too dark and warm, and then the pink was way too light and and cool. And so I think that the red does a good job of bridging those two, and having all three of those in the header and footer will help me get the balance that I'm looking for. So you saw I had put those letters out on waxed paper to decide where they're going to go. Now that I know where they're going to go, I just tore back the bottom half of the letters and slipped them right onto my Thicker's positioning tool, and then I placed them on the layout where I want them to go. Now, as I'm designing this, it looks like I still plan on using it the way that I had originally intended, but as soon as I put the letters on the on that piece of paper, the red paper with the snowflakes all over it, or stars, I decided that I would actually make a title card out of this. So instead of this being a strip of paper that goes from one side of the layout to the other and with the photo on top of it, I'm going to make this into a card that will sit beside the photo instead. But I just haven't done that yet, so you might not know, but I actually do have it in mind already. Oftentimes I don't plan ahead, but in this case I had an idea and I decided to kind of keep it in mind, finish off these letters, and then go ahead and cut the red paper down to size. I'm doing a really, really thick line of outlining around the outside edge of these letters, and I think that helps them stand out against the background, because the background has white on it and the letters are white, and so I really do want the letters to stand out. So I took some pop dots and added them to the kitty die cut that was the inspiration for this page. And then I used my tiny attacher to staple the word kitty. And here I go trimming down this paper so that it will be like a title card. And that's what it is right now. And now I am going to use a tiny bit of the back side of that red paper by flipping it over and using it as a mat on the photo. So I just had to add a little bit of adhesive there. So now the photo is double matted, although on two sides. And now I feel like I need a chunk that's going to go behind this, but I know that this paper isn't going to do it, but I was just kind of playing around with the size because I already had a piece that was almost cut of that size. So I thought I'd just try it out to see if I like the scale. But I know that if I use a paper here, it's not going to be this blue one because I just don't like how the snowflakes look against the stars. It's too, well, the color is wrong, and I think the design is wrong too. I'm thinking maybe I'll mat something with this plaid paper because I feel like I'd like to pull the plaid paper into the layout, into the body of the layout, instead of just having it in the header and the footer. Then I'm going to take 2 strips of this Fa La La paper. That's from crepe paper. And I'm going to put it again in the header and the footer, which is going to result in a really, really large header and footer for this page, but that's okay. I quite like how it looks, actually. So I am going to mat that red piece of pattern paper to put the Fa La La down. So I glued it down, and now I'm going to glue that ticket stub pink paper. It's got the ticket stub border punch on it, and make it so that it almost looks like little mounds of pink snow that the Fa La La is sitting in. And then I just layered the red strip on top of it just to give a little bit of separation between that really light pink and the really dark blue green plaid. And all of those colors show up in the Fa La La. So the red, the pink, and both shades of the green. So I think that the Fa La 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 really does tie together the footer and header that I had originally picked out and wasn't working until I added that Fa La La paper. So now I'm going to mat that title card, and it's not just a title card, and then I'm also going to trim down the mat. It's also where the majority of my embellishments are going to live as well. So I'm just using my Stampin' Up! Trimmer to trim that down, and I really do like how that brings some of the plaid into my page. I'm going to outline around the outside edges of the red paper just to make it look pulled together, and that's sort of my trademark. It's the way I like to design, is to pull papers together by outlining different elements. I keep going back and forth between, am I going to add a large layer of paper there or am I not? And I can't quite decide. So while I decide, I thought I would just outline that other pattern paper. So I do like to outline more than one place when I do my outlining. And now I'm just having a look at the stickers and embellishments that come in the kit and trying to decide what I'd like to use. I definitely want to use that little string of lights from the pleather stickers that came in the kit. I adore that string of lights. And so I'm just going to glue down the title element and the photo. And now here's another pleather sticker, and I'm really struggling with this layout. My embellishment clusters do not go together the way I want them to at all. Like I was actually feeling a little spaced out. I'm catching a bit of a cold and I was almost like zoning out. You know when your eyes go out of focus and you just kind of like stare at something? I was doing that while I was scrapbooking. Like my eyes weren't even in focus for some of this, which I know sounds kind of strange. But I think I'm coming down with a cold and I'm just not my full self, or maybe it was just a rough day of scrapbooking. I don't know. But yeah, I just kept on making awkward, weird mistakes. Like just that kitten die cut piece that was the inspiration for the piece. I just kind of, I had trouble figuring out how, like, see how it's layered with that other pleather sticker that has the trim the tree. I think that just looks awkward. But anyhow, it'll look good by the end of the layout. But this process was not very smooth, or I'm not going to say it wasn't easy because I was kind of just going with the flow and enjoying the process, but I wasn't really thinking too hard and I wasn't really engaged in the process the way I usually am. I'm usually quite engaged and like loving it. Like hardcore scrapbooking is what I usually do. But this one was just kind of like, oh, my head was half in it and half out of it. So I'm trying to think of something to put in this gap under the CH in Christmas. And that's another kind of awkward thing that it seems like I'm struggling more with this than I normally do. And right now it's not looking that great, but once I add more things to it, I think the final product does look okay. So I'm going to put another cluster up in the top, like left-hand side of the photo. That's where you see that square journaling bit and a piece of holly. And I decided to do my journaling without really thinking about where I was going to put it or what I was going to say. I just started writing, which again, I think that's just part of my cold or something. So it says, Chloe curls up under the tree as if it belongs to her. As soon as the tree was ready, she immediately curled up on the tree skirt, as if she were saying, you know, thanks guys for setting up the tree for me, and then immediately just went to sleep and claimed that space as her own. And if one of the other cats comes over and tries to curl up on it too, she makes them uncomfortable until they leave. She doesn't attack them or anything, but she'll just go up and start annoying them, and then they leave, and then she sits in the spot that they were in. She definitely is possessive about our tree. So you saw me go over my journaling over and over and over again, and that's because I don't normally journal on patterned paper, and I find that it cuts down on the legibility of my journaling, so I just made it very thick by just going over it over and over again. I didn't want to use a broad point pen because that tends to, I can't control it quite as much. I would rather go multiple times using a smaller, a narrower pen. Now I decided to use these felt, I adore tassels, not on every single page, but I do really love them. And so I was really pleased to see them in the kit this month. And so I'm sorry that there you go. I forgot to zoom out there, but I'm going to place the tassels in these 3 places. And I'm thinking instead of stapling them right to the page, I'm going to staple them to something else to the page. And that will allow me to change my mind more easily if I do, which is a good thing because I do change my mind about this one. So I was going to layer this tree along with a little journaling bubble thing. And then I decided that I didn't like the angle of that. I'm having a really difficult time with all these angles, and the tassels really help me with this because they cover up so much. See how the tassel just kind of covers up most of that of that Trim the Tree pleather sticker, which I really love that pleather sticker, but I didn't like how it was sitting, so I changed my mind and I'm going to attach a red and white starred banner to the tree and then attach the tassel to that. And I like how that sits a little bit better, but I want to make sure that it doesn't go off the edge of the page because the things on the other side, like the hollyberry, don't go off the page. So I just want, it's going to come right up to the edge of the page, but not go off. So I'm just going to, work out how that's going to be positioned. And that cat has come up, the cat has had to be pulled up off my page several times in order for me to get it the way I want it to be, layered with other items, but I think we're good now. And so I'm not even going to journal on that little block, on the little journaling block. I'm just going to use it as a design element here. And I wanted to place that journaling block a little higher than I originally had it because I don't want the pink and the red tassels to be lined up. Like I don't want there to be a horizontal line that runs from the pink tassel to the red tassel. I want the three tassels to form a triangle that has 3 different lengths of sides on it. I forget the name of that kind of triangle. Somebody help me out and leave me a comment with the name of a triangle that has 3 different lengths on the edges of it. So I am outlining this tag and doing a very poor job of it, but that's okay because I'm going to cover most of it up with this tassel and and then I'm also going to cover it up with something else at the end. So at the last minute, I decided to throw another cluster up here to make it a triangle. I actually wasn't planning on doing that until right when it happened. So I've got this Merry everything, and then I decided to put a little floral element up here because there are little bits. There's a tiny bit of poinsettia in the bottom right-hand corner, a fairly large bit of poinsettia in the top in the other corner. And then, so anyways, there's poinsettias in all the corners. You get what I mean. I really like how this is looking. I wanted some blue in this corner, so I added this little Let It Snow pleather sticker. And there's blue already. So there's blue in all the corners, and I needed some green up here. So that's why I put that Christmas present puffy sticker right there. I'm just going to fix up some of my outlining and make it a little bit thicker in a few places. And now I feel like this one is done, but right before I actually thought it was done and I started cleaning up and I went to take pictures, and right before I took pictures, I decided I would go ahead and do some sewing on this. So here is my lovely little self doing some sewing. I'm using my Kenmore half-size sewing machine for this. And I am doing a zigzag stitch that spans between the red and pink patterned papers. And then I'm going over the edge of the red pattern paper where it lines up with the green plaid and doing a straight stitch. So straight stitch and then a zigzag stitch. And that just adds a little bit of texture and detail to the top and bottom, and I feel like sewing always finishes off my layouts. Once you start sewing on your layouts, it's really hard to go back. That is one thing that I'll warn you. If you're thinking about using sewing, be warned that it is addictive, and once you've put sewing on several pages, it just won't feel like your pages are done until they have a little something something stitched on it. So here are the photos of this one. This one was a lot of fun to make, even though I was feeling a little weird as I scrapbooked it. The kitty word I think is really cute. I'm not sure that my back and forth crossing of the T was a great idea. Like it looks a little bit distracting or bulky there through the double T area, but I really like it anyways. It definitely has that kind of handmade unique look. It makes a nice embellishment. And I wanted to take it easy on the layering of embellishments on this one just because the word kitty is kind of the highlight of this page. I guess it's kind of like the artistic highlight of the page. Of course, that adorable picture with Chloe curled up under the tree. It's one of my favorite pictures that I took this season. I think I'll scrapbook it a couple times, actually. I'm going to put it in my document, in my December documented, as well as in my scrapbook. I would like to thank those who support me over on Patreon, especially the following diamond tiaras. Without the support of these fine ladies, I wouldn't be able to take time out of my week to make content for my YouTube channel every single week. Speaking of which, I do add content every Monday and Thursday. So if you haven't subscribed yet, click the button in the center of your screen, and also check out my other videos that are listed below, and check out our Facebook group if you're interested in our 27-day challenge, which has a prize. Take care and have a really great scrappy week.